You might find yourself designing a website that has multiple types of products, and when you sell one type of product, you need to collect extra information. For example, you're selling event tickets, and you need to collect their food choice as they're purchasing that ticket. Now, you'd be able to include those extra fields, like the food choice, in your checkout form, but you don't necessarily want to be asking for a food choice when you're also selling mugs, for example, on the same site. So you actually have a need for two different checkouts, and that's what this video is going to cover. That's enough of that. Let's get started. We're going to go to SureCart and Custom Forms. You'll notice your default checkout is hanging out here. We're going to add a new checkout form, and we're going to call this one Subscription Form. I'm going to use the full page because that's what I'm using in my default, and I just want to keep things consistent. And we're going to add my subscription here. I'm going to use basic membership. I'm just going to leave this as customer must purchase all options and create. Okay, so let's get into customizing. First of all, for me, this is an online membership, so I don't need a billing a billing address and all that kind of stuff. And it's a lot easier if you open up the panel on the right here. I'm just going to go under my full name and add a couple fields. So I want a checkbox. I'm going to add that, and I want a text area. I'm going to add that. My checkbox, this is all pretty straightforward to modify. I will add a link for the documentation for adding blocks and stuff like that. But here I'm just going to say notify me when new templates and components are released. And I'm going to come over here to the attributes, and I'm going to change this name to be notify. It says named, so it sounds friendly, like you might want to use caps and all that kind of stuff. This is actually a variable name. So, don't use underscores, don't use spaces, and keep everything lower case. For the value, I'm going to say yes. And that's good for this one. For my text area, I'm going to call this label, I can adjust here. What tutorial would you like to see? Question mark, and I'm just going to write tutorial. Actually, I'm going to call it tutorial request. And that's all I'm going to do for changes here. That kind of stuff is pretty straightforward. Something that's a little less obvious is the fact that you can click on the form element here, and you can change things like your loading text, your success text. You can add a thank you page. You obviously have to create that thank you page first. I'm not going to do that in this video. And there's these form cart settings. It's a little bit hard to explain this one. I will be able to do that in part 2 of the series. For now, I'm just going to leave it blank. That's it. I'm just going to publish this for now, and we're going to back out. And before I go anywhere, I'm going to copy this shortcode. Great, so first piece of the puzzle is solved. Let's go solve the next one. We're going to go and create a page. So this is going to be the page where the form actually lives. So you can see there's already a checkout page, and actually I'm just going to open that to show you. This checkout page is essentially just the form. That's all that's going on there. So we're going to go and create a new checkout page with our new custom form. I'm going to call this my subscription checkout. And I'm just going to put in a little shortcode and paste that shortcode from earlier. I'm going to publish, and we're going to go and view that on the front end. Okay, so a couple little problems here. First, my header is showing up. And second, I have subscription checkout as a title. I don't really want the title to be displaying here. Now, because we like options, I've got two for you here. First option is you just come over to the template and you change this to be SureCart. That's it. You save that, go ahead and look at that on the front end, and there you go. It takes out the header, it takes out the title, basically everything we need. Honestly, this is the option I would use most of the time. The second option is to actually get this little shortcode again, might even delete this whole thing, and we go and edit this with bricks. When we edit this with bricks, we add in our section, our container, our shortcode, place that in there, and let it render up. Now we're going to have to, if you have any styling of any kind that's automatically applied, you're going to want to take that off and save that. Then we're going to have to go into our templates and go to our header and edit that. Go into your settings, template settings, conditions, add a condition. We're going to go for an individual page and we're going to select our brand new subscription checkout and make sure it's exclude and save that. And I come back to my page. I change the template, so I actually need to go and change that back to be my default template. Save that and view in the front end. And there you go. We achieve the same results with a lot more clicks. So that's why I would just recommend just changing to the SureCart template and just using Gutenberg. Realistically, you do open up some options though, as this is now a bricks page. You know, I've got my shortcode here. I can start adding in other elements if I need, all that kind of stuff. I think a checkout page should be pretty straightforward. It should be checking out. Here's the item, buy it, don't, carry on with life. All right, so now that I have my custom checkout page done, I'm going to come back here onto my home page and I'm going to show you a little bit of my setup here. I have these different subscriptions. I have that as a query block. And here's one of the first little places where the custom checkout, the way I've done it so far, is going to break down. And in part two, I'm going to cover that. But if I was to go into my button here, for example, and do the subscription checkout page, literally just a link to that, and I save it. When I go to my home page and I click this button, it's going to load in the basic membership. That's fantastic, except it's going to load in the basic membership for all of my subscribe buttons because it's just a link to this page. So I'm going to need to make this dynamic, and that's what we do in part two. Now, if you only have a single subscription that needs this custom checkout, then what we have so far might actually work just fine. I can just put in a little button, have it be subscribe to basic, and put in the link for our new subscription checkout page. That's going to work just fine for one product. If you only have two, it's also a way to collect analytics of how many people visit the page versus how many are actually converting. It could actually be useful to keep things separated. And in that case, we're done. You've set up a custom checkout page for a specific product. And just to show you a little bit, if you go onto the home page, use our subscribe to basic button here, it's going to use our new custom checkout form versus if I go to my shop, this is still going to be using my default checkout. So you'll see the shipping address and all that kind of stuff is here, and I'm missing the text area field and the checkbox field. So just like that, I can have a website that has multiple different types of checkout. If I'm selling event tickets, I'm not collecting, food choices there, but then having to also collect food choices on a totally different type of product where that doesn't make sense. So it's useful to have different types of checkout that collect different information. As we saw earlier, there is a bit of a shortcoming where if you were, for example, using that selling tickets example, if you have a bunch of events, you don't want to be creating a whole new page with that checkout every single event. You'll end up with 14 pages just to handle the same tasks over and over. If you have to make changes, that's not going to make much sense. So in part two, I'm going to cover how to load in those items dynamically using URL parameters. They're kind of fun. And in part three of this little series, I'm going to show you how you can actually use all of those custom metadata that you're collecting during checkout to update your users using SureTriggers or to display that information on your invoices. So if any of that's interesting to you, I'll see you in the next video. If you're a brand new user to SureCart and you haven't actually bought anything yet, when you do, please do consider going through my affiliate link. It'll definitely inspire me to make more content to make your life easier once you're part of the club. Thanks.